plane that intersects it. I hope I'm not going too fast, because this subject is just so familiar to me. There is only one model, guys. You see that torus field? Blue shift, red shift. Red shift down in hell. This is a green heart chakra. That's green. Yellow, orange, red. Hell. Blue, indigo, violet. Blue shift. Heaven. The heaven's blue. Down below is red hell. That's just the way torus fields are. Your body's like that. If you could see the energy going straight down your spinal column, you'll see blue shift at top, like a rainbow, red on one end, blue on the other. Red police siren, blue police siren. Red pill, blue pill. Red blood, blue blood. Republicans are red, Democrats are blue. Neither of them gives a shit about you. Roses are red, violets are blue. Red for little girls, blue for little boys. Red hot tap, blue cold tap. Red positive battery terminal, blue negative battery terminal. It's a red shift, blue shift world. And those colours are electrical. That's the electrical world, which is material and physical. The spiritual world of white light and black light is magnetism. We all come from our mother, magnetism. And we manifest here with this red shift, blue shift torso. We're an atom. It matters not how far down you go in the microcosm. You'll bump into the smallest little wave particle or wave function, and it will be an atom. You go up to a galaxy and it will be an atom. These are galaxies, supposed galaxies. Let's have a look at some of these amazing people. Look at that. Can you see the jets coming out of the center of that torus field? Maybe I should expand that. I assumed we'd have a whiteboard. I normally work with a whiteboard. That's cool. You know, I may do with what I've got in the presentations, but yeah, normally if that was had a projector, look at that. See that jet? See the center there? That's what we see when we look at the sun. It's just a portal. It's a wormhole. Our Holy Father who art in heaven, because we have to go through that to get out of here every day, to go back to our magnetic source. Because we got stuck here enjoying this red shift, blue shift world. And then at times we get so down and sick and what have you, we want to go back. And we don't know how to. We're stuck with these heavy bodies. We need to eat, drink, sleep, go to the bathroom, work, and all of these conditions all of a sudden are upon us. Sometimes we don't have a job, sometimes we don't have food, we can't have a shower sometimes. Not everything goes right in this world, does it? Because you're limited, you're conditioned. This is a condition. So no matter what you go, there's the eye, the bull's eye. You see, that central pillar inside the torus field is called a hyperbola. And bowl is the key word. It's the ball or bull's eye. The eye of the bull, the eye of the storm. And that eye is God's eye. And from that eye proceeds everything. It comes from counter space. So when you go through the sun, Baphomet's pointing down to the moon because the moon is the portal to incarnation. We all came through the portal of the moon. Every single one of us. There's no other way. The moon is our mother, the ovaries of the solar system. And so we have to go through the sun. That's why Jesus said, no one goes to the Father except through me. It's very important to read some sacred scriptures, whether it's Bhagavad Gita, Zendavesta, or the Bible. My favourite is the Bible, and always will be. I'm very biblical because I understand it. You know? There was no literal Jesus walking on the earth. No, it's literary. If we're waiting for a literal Jesus to return, we'll be waiting forever. The return of Christ is a return in you. You are Christ. You have to return to remember that. That's all. But look at that. You see, that's an Earth. That's an Earth system. That's the only part, the plane of inertia of every atom or every torus field is the only place where life can exist in a system, in the solar system. There's the man, the human, the woman. There's a golden egg. There's one way they illustrated the ancients. I don't know whether you can all see that. See a beautiful golden egg? Very elaborate. But this is what the ancients thought we lived in. And it is. I call it an apple, a golden apple. The big apple. We live inside of an apple. You're an apple. You have a core, corazon, apple core. Okay? It's because you're an apple. You have an apple torus field around you. In French, apple is pomme, man is homme. Just take away the pen. In Spanish, apple is manzana, man. There are many other ways to go back to the root of apple. That's why Eve and Adam ate the apple. First thing they did, right? Because eating the apple means coming into your apple manifestation. These are the apples of the polar. There's an apple, there's an apple, there's an apple, there's an apple. We're all apples. Golden apples. Or golden eggs. You can call it anything. This God form has many names. This is Jupiter, Zeus, this is Saturn. See the hourglass in the middle? That's Chronos. That's time space. Time is in the center, space is in the outside. Around. This is the sword and the chalice, the Holy Grail. Excalibur and the Holy Grail. Excalibur is always the phallic center, masculine, and the Taurus is the uterus, feminine. Time, hourglass, hyperbola, space, Taurus field. Ouroboros eating its tail in the center. The serpent, the number 8, see? Life, death, life, death, life, death. The number 8, eternal number. And that's all we're doing. Everything's made up of little circuits called waves, electrical waves. In Spanish, víbora and vibración, vibration, same word. Víbora, serpent, vibración, vibration. Vibra is a serpent. In Italian, my parents' language, it's it's víbora. Víbora. No, what am I doing? That's Spanish. Hang on. It's a V.
Ceviche.
Yeah, that's vibration. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's enough in one language. Vibra. See the apples? See the little tree there, the tree? It's all the same. There's only one form. It's electromagnetic. Because electromagnetism is conscious energy. It comes out of the source, out of counter space, and it comes into space. It creates space. Just like this photo on my screen here, it's not in the computer. You remember seeing Zoolander trying to find the file? He broke the computer because he's going, "Ooh, we need that file." Well, there's no photos in here, although there's 600,000 photos, there are actually no photos. So how did they get in there? And how do they get on my screen? That's what people don't know about themselves. How did we get here? Where do we come from? It's easy. We're an electrical body made up of transverse waves, which are fed by longitudinal radiation waves called magnetism. Magnetism is 10 billion times more powerful than electricity. That's why the god El always gets a bad rap. The demiurge. Oh, he's evil. Yeah, well he is, but he's also good. Red shift, blue shift. Good and evil. You can't just be evil. There's nothing that is just only evil. You know how to say pure evil. It doesn't exist. Because it's like pure light. I mean, those are dim. If we turn the dimmer switch up and get more light, we say that's light and this is dark. Or this is dim. But darkness is just a degree of light. It's just turned down, so you can't see it. But dogs can. Bats can. So it's still light. Because light is electromagnetic and everything is. There is nothing to speak of, there's no thing you can talk about at the coffee table with your friends other than electromagnetism. That's all that exists. Electromagnetism. Electricity is inferior, magnetism is superior. Electricity is the demiurge, magnetism is the source. Source, force. Cause, effect. God, God's Son. There's many ways to describe it, but whichever book you read, you'll always come to that. So, geocentrism, now, if I had a projector, I would love to have shown you some websites on astrology. If you go to free astrological sites like Astro or Astro, those ones are usually pretty good. They're very user friendly, so I like to use those. Now, if you notice one thing, if you're put hands up the astrologers here, really good, well-versed astrologers, okay? Because this is good. Tropical or sidereal?
Tropical.
Good, okay. Sidereal is the same, it's still geocentric.
Light is the sound in ether.
Sorry?
Light is the sound in ether.
It is. Light and sound. Remember, there's only atoms and there's only electromagnetism. So if you're going to be talking about sound, what are you going to be talking about? Electromagnetism. If you're going to be talking about trees and leaves and sky and rain and water and people and food, what are you talking about? Electromagnetism. Because everything's made up of those ways. You know, why don't I trust atoms? Because they go around making things up, making everything up. No. You can't but trust atoms. Everything's atomic. All is atomic. The Egyptians said in the Hermetica. Thousands of times. Almost the end of every, ad nauseum, at the end of every sentence, all is atom. Atom is the all. Right already, you know. It's like Christians saying Amen, Hallelujah, Amen, Hallelujah. Ah! Give it a break. But it has to be stressed to get it through our thickness and our forgetfulness of who we are and what we are. Everything is atomic. If you've had a good LSD trip or DMT, you'll know that. You'll see the waves. Everything just goes, wow, it's waving. Oh, look at that colour. Wow. Ayahuasca will do it. Because those are portals to other dimensions and they will show you the true nature of the world. It's okay to be entheogens. That's why the priests used to give the people in church a little bit of wafer. That was a magic mushroom in ancient times. Now it's a bit of stale bread that's got any lemon in it. Thanks. And it does nothing. And he's supposed to be there waiting for you to get out of your body and to help you have communion with God. You go into the communion, right? What's the wafer doing there? Nothing? Exactly. It used to be a mushroom, Amanita muscaria. And then once you come out of your body, then he would instruct you. He would navigate for you and help you so you wouldn't get lost and get scared. He would calm you down and he would teach you how to understand God, the transcendental. So, what happens when you go into Astrodynst? What's the setting on for the system that it's using? Geocentric. Oh, that's interesting. What about the little button next door which says heliocentric, sidereal, or whatever, all these other different draconic and all this other stuff? Why is it always default? Geocentric. Because it is. Because the sun and the moon and the wandering stars we call planets are clockwise going around the center of the Earth, the North Pole, every 24 hours. It's 24-hour clock. Yearly, they are going against that current. The sun is going this way to make a year. It takes 365 days to get around. And the moon 27 days. But daily, they are going around clockwise. So when we look at an astrological chart, you will understand exactly what's going on. With an astrological chart, remember this is the Tropic of Peppercorn, this is a wheel like this, and you always have something like this. MC, DC, IC, and AC. AC, DC. ADIM gives you Adam, and Ma, Adim, is how you say Mars in Hebrew. Mars is red, Adam means red in Hebrew, redshift. Blue means blue shift, Eve means blue shift, Chava. It's right there in your face. First man's red, first woman's blue. You got red veins and red arteries and blue veins. That's Zosimos of the 3rd century, a Neoplatonic astrologer, said, Adam, we are all children of Adam, because we're all children of this electromagnetic wheel. And he said, the ascendant in astrology, the east where the sun rises, ascends. There you go, that's the morning, the first 2 hours of the morning, 12th house. This is from 8 to 10 in the morning, 11th house. This is 10 to 12, midday. But funny enough, this is the south. And this is the north down here. Many astrologers ask me, why should the north be here on the top as it always is, and the south at the bottom? Can you explain to me why? It's like, well, of course, it's pretty easy. I don't know how you can't get it. Since not everyone's an astrologer, you'll have to go a little bit more basic. But let's explain that, because it also proves, I'm going to show you two things that prove that to you how you can show anyone and yourself how astrology proves that we're the center and everything goes around us. Everything's going around this every 24 hours. Remember, we said this is 6 a.m, the ascendant, the east, this is the west, and this is 6 p.m. Here is 12 midday, here's 12 midnight. So we've got 10 to 12 every morning. This is the morning. Afternoon starts, 9th house, mid-afternoon, 8th house, 7th house. My sun is here. I was born at 4:19. My sun is right there. Midday, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4:19. It's a 24-hour clock. What time were you born, sister? Do you know? All right. If you 6:30 p.m. Okay, so your sun is right here in the 6th house, isn't it? Do you know your astrology? All right, let's grab someone who knows their astrology.
21:10.
Erin?
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Your sun is right about here in the 3rd house, is it not? Good.
9
See?
p.m.
Because this is midday. Hang on, Dragon, I'll be with you in a minute. That's midnight, right? That's midday. Very, very easy. This here is called the line of the earth. When you stand in the northern hemisphere, let's say you're in Canada, and you want to see the sun rise and set, you want to see the whole thing. Which way do you face? North or south? Otherwise you'll miss the action. There's the sun rising and setting. If you do this, you face the North Pole, you ain't going to see anything. So that's why this is you here, standing on the line of the earth, and that never moves, by the way. This moves. The MC and the IC move. If the signs on the Tropic of Cancer are rising, like Leo, Cancer, or Gemini, the MC will go over to the right. When the Tropic of Capricorn signs are rising, the MC goes over to the left. It goes like this. Every day, 24 hours, it moves. But this line never moves, because all the planets are going round clockwise every 24 hours over the Earth. The Earth is not turning around. We're going to look at that in a minute, prove that. It's very, very, very important. Keep an open mind, guys. Don't run out just because you swallowed the Copernican lie. The Copernican lie's only been around for 480 years, and he's a Jesuit. And the Jesuits are not your friends. They're the ones who bring you pandemics, plagues, the Justinian plague, the bubonic plague, the black plague, the Spanish flu, COVID. Yeah, they like to decimate humanity when there are too many debtors, or they've got too many debts, which they borrowed from the creditors, and so they have to kill a few folk to get away with their crimes. That's all they're doing. Just getting rid of some stock they don't need, and then reset. But they didn't count on a great resist, did they? 5, this, Dragon,
Yes, sir.
What time?
21:10.
21:10. So this is one.
It's 9 o'clock.
Hang on, I should have gone. So we're going here 0, 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Your sun is in the 5th house.
Yes.
Exactly. It's a 24-hour clock. All right? And you'll find that all the planets will do one revolution every day. I was going to show you this. I was going to go forward and inch the chart 1 hour, and you can watch all the planets going around the chart of astrology. Right? And if you're born here and your sun's here, like Erin has, well, she's a communicator and a networker. She brought some goods from David Wolf over for me, some ormus, some cacao. See, she's a networker. She connects people up. These are the networkers. These are the people who make a lot of money. The second house. These are the people who are all centered around themselves and of self-aware and have a purpose for themselves. These are the people that are awakened. These are people who are good in society, with friends and community. These are the public image people. Donald Trump has his son here. Big career house. These are the people who travel a lot because the sun is there. Whoop. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, this guy was born. He's going to be a traveler. See, your mother has 10 kids and they're all born at different houses. She doesn't know this. She's not aware of the electromagnetic constitution astrologically. So she wonders why Matthew, her 11-year-old Sagittarius, always wants to travel. And then her Aries sun is always selfish and self-centered. And the Libran guy is always, wanting to have a partner. Oh, sorry, the guy who's got his son in the 7th house. And she's wondering why they're not all the same, or why they've all got different inclinations and predispositions. Well, that's because wherever the sun lands in this Russian roulette wheel of fortune and destiny will determine, what your character, your personality, and a lot of traits are internally and externally. This rules your whole life in cycles. So now, if we were living on a globe, right? So let's say you're in Ecuador. You're standing like this. All right, aren't you? Pretty much, even though the Earth is supposed to be tilting like this. So we're over here, and how can I do this? It's so ridiculously wrong that I just don't even know how I'm going to do this. So they can't even really look south. In Ecuador you can't do it. Let's make it America. Okay. So we're up here in Boston, right? And we have to look south because the tropics are here, right? There's the equator. You've got to look south to be able to see the sunrise in the east and then set in the west. But then they say this is the north. Well, that would be over here. Because you're standing on here, every astrologer knows this is the Earth. They call it the horizon now. Very convenient. The horizon. Well, that's the line, that's called the horizon. Yeah, well, I've read Firmicus Maternus 2,000 years ago, Marcus Manilius, Ptolemy, Vettius Valens, Claudius Ptolemy, of course, the greatest astrologer. And they call it the line of the Earth. They were more truthful. And they said that everything here is called under the Earth. Well, hang on a minute, didn't we just say that the Earth is circular inside the torus field and it's the plane of inertia, planet of Eartha, plane of inertia? Look up torus fields and you'll learn there are 3 parts to the torus field. The inside hourglass shape, hyperbola, the outside called torus, and then the intersection right through the middle called the plane of inertia. Very important that you understand this. And that's where we live. Nick?
Yeah, ICMC pole.
Yep.
It's the axis of politicians, and that's the hyperbola of the torus field.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. You can put it that way, or you can put it that way. Yeah. By the way, this is interactive, so put your hand up if you want to make a comment. So how can this be under the Earth if it's north, and that be on top of the Earth? Because obviously we've got, if the sun rises here and sets here, this is obviously the daytime and this is the night, right? It has to be. It has to be. This is the ascendant, and the sun always rises here. When people are born at 6 o'clock in the morning, their sun is always around here somewhere. It can be in the darkness here, or it can be about here, depending what latitude they're born in. It'll vary a little bit. There's about an hour or two of variance there. But for instance, here in Mexico, I checked the other day, the sun rises at about 7:20. It's interesting. It's really late. In Australia, it was always up earlier. It's strange. But that's how our electromagnetic solar system is. It's a lot of what we see is actually an illusion. It's like a rainbow. Do you actually see a rainbow? Yes, you do. Is it there? It's not there. Like this, it's not there. There's no photos in here. A new phone, this is full of photos. But a new iPhone 11, if I go down and pick one up, which one will be heavier? This one that's full or this one that's empty? This is full. It doesn't weigh any more than that one. How can that be? Well, because those photos are just zeros and ones. And they're occupying no space at all. They're sitting in little chips, but really they don't occupy space. That's the same as you. Your counterspatial self does not weigh anything and doesn't occupy any space. Here you're spatial and you're temporal. You're born, you grow old, and you die. So that's time. You're temporal. It's a temporal, temporary body. It's not eternal. It's not infinite. It's finite and temporal. It's not eternal. But there you are eternal. When you go back in, you'll know all this. You're eternal and infinite, unconditioned, unlimited, unqualified. Here, there's all sorts of qualifications. This one's got a PhD. This one dropped out of school. This one's a doctor. This one's a. It's all qualifications. Over there, it's all one thing. So this is a good analogue for understanding how we are here. We come from the nowhere into the everywhere. And, you know, that photo there came from the nowhere. That's the Yggdrasil tree of the Nordics. Look at Jesus. See the two colours coming from Jesus? You'll see this everywhere, red and blue, because that's the Son of God, electricity. Emmanuel. His name is Emmanuel. That's a hint to electricity. Sun's got a face. Yeah, because that's God. That's your Saviour. The Sun is your Saviour. Early Christians were called heliognostics. That means knowers of the sun. Why did they need to know the sun, about the sun? Why would they need to know about the sun? Because they knew that was the portal through which their souls would go back to cause. You can't go back through the moon. You can't go back through any other wormhole. That's a wormhole. The sun is a wormhole. It's actually the light is coming from behind it. There's another sun. It's called the sun behind the sun. That is only a transmitter from the original sun. So it's not even really generating its own light. It's borrowing light. It's like when I get a magnifying glass and I shine it over onto the wall over there. That's what the sun is like. It's only a projection. Just like the rainbow. Oh, it's there. It's not. It appears to be there. projected. And that's what the sun is. It's not actually there. Neither is the moon. That's why people get enchanted by the moon. What is it? No one will ever know. How come it disappears for 60 hours every new moon? 2.5 days. Wait a minute. My astrology says the moon and the sun are conjunct. 0 degrees. It's a new moon. The moon should be in front of the sun. But every month, every 27 days, it vanishes from the sky for 60 hours. Where's the moon rock? It's 220,000 miles, and the sun's 93 million miles. They're the same size, and yet where does that round moon rock ball disappear to for 60 hours? That's a question no one wants to answer.
What about eclipses?
What?
Well, there you go. That's a good question, isn't it? All of a sudden, then the moon seems to go in front of the sun. Why does this happen rarely? It should be happening every 27 days. Every single 27 days.
What?
Well,
Because they're close and opposite of each other.
but they're not opposite each other. That's the thing. They are in the same space as each other.
Yeah.
The sun is magnetic and the moon is dielectric. And when the moon goes really close in declination and right ascension, you see, the ecliptic of the sun is that. We just saw the ecliptic of the sun. From the ascendant to the descendant. This is called right ascension of meridian. The sun is always on the ecliptic. The moon can be 5 and a half degrees negative declination, or it can be up here 5.5 degrees positive declination. So you have 2 coordinates for the sky. On the Earth you have latitude and longitude. Right? Longitude, latitude. And they're 15 degrees apart. In the sky we have declination, low declined, when the sun's low in winter, that's low declination. High in summer, that's high declination. This is declination, this is right ascension of meridian. Okay? So you've got Ram and declination. So the astrologer said that whenever the sun, any body, planet, or whatever they call them, wandering stars, comes within 15 degrees of the sun, it becomes combust, or under the rays of the sun, hence invisible. So astrology has the answer. See, the moon, it's pretty much, it's always following the trajectory of the sun, which is called the ecliptic. But it can be lower by 5.5 degrees. That's the maximum where K2 is, the south node, and then it goes up to the north node every 14 days. It does this 14 days, Rahu, Ketu, Rahu, Ketu, Rahu, and that's 28 days. But we should see it nonetheless. The only time we get an eclipse is when it is 0 degrees declination and 0 degrees right ascension of meridian. Then we get an eclipse, but it's not the moon. We think it's the moon going in front of the sun. Well, why couldn't we see it over here when we're watching the eclipse, right? And all of a sudden we see a shadow. Where the hell did it come from? Because for 15 degrees you didn't see any moon for already for 30 hours.
Are you talking solar or lunar eclipse?
Solar.
Yeah. So what's your question?
Well, you're watching the eclipse, right? You don't see any moon for 30 hours, and all of a sudden at the eclipse you see the shadow of the moon going in front of the sun, or what you think is the moon.
So what's the problem?
Well, it's Rahu. It's the node of the moon, or K2. It's one of the nodes.
So you're saying the moon is not there?
It's not a rock.
What is it?
It's a luminous body. It's entirely luminous. It's a dielectric portal. The sun is a magnetic portal.
What about the tides?
The tides are all controlled by the electromagnetism, which they control. The sun
Nothing
is
to
an
do.
anode, the
Nothing
moon
to
is
do with the
cathode.
moon.
It has influence by the moon, yes. Of course it does. But it's not controlled by the
There's
moon.
no gravitational force coming from the moon.
No, none whatsoever.
It's a
Gravity's a theory.
It's a work of two polarities.
Gravity is a theory.
Why are we all being pulled toward the center of the Earth?
Because we're denser
Yeah.
and less buoyant than the air.
Yeah.
That's why helium can go up. Why doesn't gravity pull helium balloons down? Because a theory cannot do that. You see, ships going to Australia, oh, here's a big ship, right? Tuk, 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 and smoke's going down that way. Steamship. The smoke's going down that way, butterflies are flying all around, but that is sucked into the moon, right? They say, oh, because it's more mass. Confused. Yes.
Why do we get our periods at full moon or
Yeah, well, because remember, all these bodies are influencing you. They are making us. Without their electromagnetic waves, we wouldn't exist. Take the sun away, we're gone. As soon as you take the sun away, we cease to exist.
Of course.
Yeah.
So the planets are not there either?
Remember the magnifying glass projected? You see light there. Is it there? Well, it's there, but it's not really there. Like the rainbow. The sun is like a condensed rainbow. It's just all of a sudden in one pure white light body.
I didn't catch what you're talking about, the rainbow.
Okay, so the rainbow, you see this arch of the rainbow, right?
Right.
You see it, but it's a projection. It's not really there. You can't go and grab it and put it in your pocket.
Right. It's a prismatic effect of sunlight going through raindrops.
Exactly. Right?
So what's the problem?
Well, that's the way the sun is. That's why no one can triangulate the sun.
What do you mean?
Well, it hasn't been triangulated.
What do you mean
What is
triangulated?
Well, you triangulate to get the distance. Triangulation, like from, I'll get a measurement from here, and then I'll get a measurement from another place on the Earth, and then they work out the distance.
GPS coordinates.
Yeah. So I'm not following you.
It's easy.
Well, no one knows how far it is. Simple.
They
No
don't.
one knows, because you can't. You can't triangulate it. You can't get a distance.
Why can you not from a satellite that's further out from the Earth? You can't triangulate because the Earth is not wide enough.
You don't need much width. You can do it with a kilometre or a mile. You don't need 100 miles to triangulate.
And what about the 93 million miles?
93 million miles for a start. The light wouldn't arrive. They say particles of light come into your eye, and that's how you see the sun. Where are those particles?
You have to take them.
Who collects those particles?
They're photons.
It's a particle, right?
Sometimes.
And sometimes it's a
Light
wave.
is a particle or a wave.
Right. Well, they're confused because there are no particles. Thank you, Walter Russell, and all the legends like Schauberger and Tesla.
Nikola
There are no particles. Thomas Young, the discoverer of the electron, said till his dying death, it's not a particle because there are no particles.
It's only a particle when you observe it,
It's all frequency.
and then it's
Yes.
wave format from
Okay,
that
so
point.
But
it's
it's
a
still
wave.
not a particle. It's a pulse. This is a
Exactly.
pulse wave universe. Magnetism pulsates,
And how do you know that, Santos?
electricity vibrates.
It's when you drop a pebble into the ocean, what does it do? Does it ripple like a wave?
Radiation wave, a radial wave which is always growing.
Bingo.
And then, because it encounters resistance in that medium of water, a transverse wave transpires, is the result. Radial waves are creating transverse waves through the ether, the air, the water, the earth, and all the 5 elements.
Are you saying the Earth is flat?
No, it's stationary and a horizontal plane.
Yes.
That's why we call it a planette. It's a plane. It's horizontal. It doesn't move. It has never, ever, ever, ever moved 1 millimeter in the history of its existence.
So nothing is moving through the universe.
No.
the one word.
No. There is movement, but within the cells called solar systems. Then there's millions of them. They're infinite. This is only one. You read Bhagavad Gita, it says Brahma created millions of universes, or rather solar systems. But they're not all flying around and crashing into each other. They're all stable, hovering, electromagnetically called anti-gravity. They're all hovering, these torus fields, in the universe.
They all have their own laws as well, right?
They all, yeah, pretty much, but still it's all electromagnetic. Yes, they do have their own rules. Here is the law of karma, mostly. Yes.
Okay, whether I believe what you're saying or not, what's the point?
The point is to know where we are.
It's
And-
very important to be
And
able
how
to point.
simple it is to know how where we are. There's only one model. Man is the measure of the universe. When
Okay.
you understand that the solar system is the same as your manhood or your womanhood,
Yeah.
the heart is an anagram for Earth. There is a horizontal radiation, not vibration, which emanates from the heart as it pulsates. Dum, 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 dum. That's the pulse. That's the that's the magnetic pulse that generates all the waves of all the atoms of your anatomy, atoms. So that is magnetic, it radiates. And from there, the plane of inertia extends horizontally forever. And that's how the Earth is. That's why the Nordic people called it an Yggdrasil tree, and they made a circle, and they put the Earth in like that, intersecting somewhere. Let's see if we can get one of those trees.
But with the eclipses, Rahu is dense enough to block out the sun.
By the way, there's a great documentary coming out where hundreds of pilots and engineers from NASA and from the commercial pilot industry coming out and saying we're sick of it, we've had enough, the Earth is stationary, we know we're not living on a moving target going at Ecuador. If you're landing on a north-south runway and that's going at 1,000 miles an hour, they say it's just totally ridiculous. We were trained on a flat Earth, on a stationary Earth, non-rotating, and
So you're saying
call
we're
it
not
flat.
we're not rotating, we're not revolving around the sun.
No.
does it feel like it?
Of course not.
Exactly, because it's not. Simple.
It's a little
You're saying the
naive,
sun
sounds
revolves
like to
around
me.
us.
I think anyone who believes we're moving at 650 million miles an hour is naive. Because that's what Copernicus says, the lying Jesuit. He says we're flying at 650 million miles an hour.
So
when
again-
you go
again-
and have a cup of coffee, hang on a minute, when you go and have a cup of coffee with your friend next for an hour, right, just have a cup of coffee and chat for an hour, we've been displaced through space at Mach 870,000, a sod of dirt, 870,000 Mach, we've moved from here to here 650 million, not a million miles, not 100 miles, 650 million miles. Bullshit. Pure bullshit.
But what?
That's pure
but
bullshit.
again, what's the point?
The point
Whether
is we
we're
need to
moving
know
or
where
not,
we
whether
live.
we perceive it or not, what's your point?
There's a grand
Well,
point
there's
which
a
I'd like
great
to share.
point.
Can I
That's
share?
a big lie. They've
Once
told us a
you-
big lie, like the COVID pandemic lie.
Santos.
It's pure bullshit, right?
Do you know why I think it's
It's
so
a lie.
important? Why I feel like it's so
And we're
important?
truthers.
Why?
It's because it places us in not following indecent leaders. Because it puts us in command as the center, as spirits incarnate into the flesh, as the author of our story.
Well, I
rather than-
agree with that for every human being, but that still doesn't mean I'm not moving through space on a spherical planet.
Cosmologically, it does, because if we're following a sun, it's like following the Bible without asking a question. If we're following the sun, which spins around a black hole, that ain't very dignified. We may as well go and get our vaccines right now, sunshine, because I ain't the centre.
That's a leap.
It is a massive leap, but let's bring it back. If we are following the story of the evolution of the dinosaurs, and they were cool, they were an invention as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe that they were part of our existence. Then it makes us some kind of meaningless happenstance and circumstance. But you aren't meaningless.
Of course I'm not.
You're infinitely deep and beautiful.
Absolutely.
And so this puts us in a dignified position of authority as the owner of our own script, of our own storytelling
Okay,
narration.
now I get the point. Thank you.
Well, go thank yourself. You're worthy.
That's
Thank you.
why this is interactive. Okay, so
I don't agree with you, but now I get your point.
Well, that's perfectly okay as well.
Yeah, it's perfectly okay. I believe we're on a planet that's rotating and revolving around the sun.
In order to be a master of the realm which we strive for, we want to know what this realm exactly is. And we know that NASA is, it has the largest film studio in the world. So that's one
Oh,
huge
yeah,
red
now
flag.
we're going to say the moon landing didn't happen.
Of all places, NASA.
yeah, do not trust NASA one bit. You know the moon landing it's cartoons, right?
It's a lie. They want to make
They
it
just
feel
said-
insignificant.
Kubrick filmed that.
The bottom line is whether you believe the sun's going to shine in the morning or not, it doesn't require your little mind to believe it. Whether you believe the moon's going to do what the moon's going to do, it doesn't matter what you care it's going to do. Nature does what nature does.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah,
the
that's
Earth
we
is
know.
flat. When I was looking for tickets to India, I could have flown over like through New York, around the world that way, or I could have flown over the Pacific.
You're always going east to west. You never go over the North and South Pole because they're not like on a globe. The North Pole's in the centre, and Antarctica. Thank you, Captain Cook. He sailed around Antarctica. It took him 67,000 miles to get from point A and back to the point again.
Okay.
That's because it's a ring around the disk Earth.
No, but if the Earth was flat and I wanted to get from America
Yeah.
to India,
You go east. That's where it is. You fly east.
but you could also fly west and also
Yeah, of course.
get there.
Of course. You can go
But
this
if the
way.
Earth is flat, I'd fall off the edge of the Earth.
There's
and
no
then-
edge. There's no edge. It's contained in a torus field. That is a dome above our heads. Firmament. Well, the firmament, the bottom of the firmament.
Can you like make a picture of what a flat Earth looks like? 'Cause
Well,
to
you
me,
just
like,
saw
the
it.
ground is flat, right? It's not
Okay.
flat.
Taurus.
And if I'm trying to get from point A to point B, there's only one
I
option.
personally don't perceive a spinning a disc floating off in space. I don't believe in the outer space so much myself. I believe this is the only
There it
place.
is. That's the only form that exists. That's how we know we're living on that.
What does Ken
Simple.
Wheeler say with the Taurus field electromagnetically?
Yeah.
Only life can, and he's not even talking about this Earth construct, only life can form on that plane of inertia.
Yeah. I said that before.
It's a time-space continuum, a void that we are within. The only place where time exists is within inside this void.
If you were going to incarnate onto an earthly plane and you had two options, I'm going to put you on a ball that's flying at 650 million miles an hour, or I'm going to put you on a stable, stationary place where you can live. Which would you pick? It's pretty obvious, and it is. How do I know? Well, we've got all the science. We've got all the science proving that the Earth is stationary. We've got James Bradley in 1729, Astronomer Royal, with his telescope experiment, proved that the Earth is stationary. That's the Astronomer Royal. That's not some hippie bum. Then 100 years later, George Airy in 1871 with a similar telescope, the Astronomer Royal for 49 years. That means the world's leading astronomer proved that the Earth is stationary. Sagnac in 1913, before Einstein came out with his general theory of bullshit relativity, like the bullshit Jesuit Big Bang, he proved that the Earth was stationary with his interferometer experiment. This is all in our history books. We don't get taught this in school because NASA's taken over. They've removed those books, right? Encyclopedia Britannica 58 says they went to Antarctica, it was a ring, and they found that the firmament there was only 13,000 feet high. We couldn't get through it. They called it Operation Fishbowl. Then they give you a model of the Earth that's flat, and they give you the little, the little snowballs, right? The little snow Earth things, and you shake it, and that's what they're sticking in your face, and that's they're showing you what the Earth is really like. Then Michelson-Morley and Michelson-Gale in 1915 and 1929 respectively, with an interferometer proved that the Earth was stationary. Pierluigi Igino, the Italian genius, he was saying, up until he died in 2004, you can see videos of Pierluigi Igino. He worked with Marconi. He said, Marconi and I, we have an experiment we can show you in 5 minutes that the Earth is stationary. We have the science. The only thing that globies have got is Einstein on his deathbed, who said, I have come to perceive that no optical experiment can prove the movement of the Earth. Because you can't. Not one experiment exists, either optical or physical or whatever kind of experiment, that the Earth is moving. And yet we have tens and tens and tens and tens of astronomer royals and geniuses that say the Earth is stationary. And now, watch out, because soon there's going to be a documentary that will seal it. Pilots are going to come out and say, we're done with this globe bullshit. The Earth's not moving. Okay? Watch out for that one. It's coming out in a few
What's that
months.
Do you know the name?
It's called, no, I don't know. I don't know the name, but it'll be out soon. Keep in touch with me, and I can email it to you just in
Okay.
case. Please. Yes.
Is there a second sun here or one coming?
Second sun, it's like a black sun. It's not too luminous sun. Did you see the Chinese put a sun up?
Yeah.
And it looks just like the sun, right? It's a false sun, because what they're doing is they're just using electromagnetism. It's a projection as well.
My friend has seen two suns in California. My friend has seen two suns
Yeah,
in
but
California.
that's again. There's tricks going on in the electromagnetic sky. Remember, these are luminous bodies, and they're electromagnetic. And what we see is not really what's there. It's there. The sun is there. There's no doubt about it. But it's not physically